let's give it a minute to just sync and look okay. Okay, perfect. It looks like we are live. And let's give 1 minute here for people to join us since we're not quite at the starting time yet. And I'm gonna go ahead and begin recording, and I'm gonna ask Brett to do a duplicate recording. I'll record to the cloud and you record to your device if that's okay, if you have the space for it.
We are recording.
Okay, and yes, let's check that. Yep, okay, we are both recording, so if one of these recordings goes wrong, hopefully the other one makes it. Perfect.
There's also a copy of the thing.
Yes, there is. Yep. Okay. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. We are so excited to kick off our student government spring election speech night today with our executive office candidates, Hayden Sledge and Mason Laney. And in a moment, I'll ask Hayden and Mason to deliver their campaign speech. But before that, for those of you tuning in now, I'm going to go ahead and explain how tonight is going to go. So we've split all the candidates up into different cohorts to keep each group relatively balanced. We've put most of the contested elections together and then the uncontested elections together for the sake of ease for those who are tuning in to know at what point to enter. For just a rough overview of our schedule here, the next 20 minutes will be for the executive office. The following 20 minutes will be for the senior and sophomore class co-presidents. And then the next 20 minutes after that will be for the junior class co-presidents. That'll put us right at about 8:30, at which point we'll begin having a 30-minute intermission and we'll resume at 9 p.m. for a 30-minute block with the contested EVP races for student wellness and academic affairs, and then another 30 minutes for the remaining uncontested EVP races. I will repeat that at various points throughout today's event. So no worries if any of you missed that. And we encourage you to submit questions for our live Q&A for Hayden Sledge and Mason Laney at this time through our Slido, which the Slido code is 644152. That should also be posted in the live chat, so please reference that. All right, with no further ado, take it away, Hayden and Mason.
I will begin. Good evening, Wheaton. I thank you for tuning in tonight, especially since I know there's nothing more fun for you to be doing tonight than listen to student government candidate speeches. I will first share an overview of my time at Wheaton and then highlight some of the issues that need to be addressed. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a rising senior, I'm Hayden Sledge, and I'm running to be your student body president. When I first moved in as a freshman, I was immediately in awe of how students sought to glorify the Lord here. Whether they were a violinist, a chemist, or a track runner, it became clear to me that Wheaton had people of all different cultural backgrounds, personalities, and talents. And it was clear that God was working in each of their lives. Yet I also came to realize that Wheaton College was not immune to brokenness. Whether people were experiencing spiritual numbness or seasons of burnout, or just genuinely felt unheard, students here were not impenetrable. And from serving as freshman class co-president to UCC and Mac Evans to dancing on Zoe's Feet ministry, I saw that student perspectives and groups are pivotal to the Wheaton experience. Wheaton would not be Wheaton without residence life, sports teams, the OMD, SAO, OCO. Sadly, though, connecting with other students through things like saga meals, something that seemed so normal, student group meetings and events, things like these have been disrupted due to the pandemic. Mason and I want to bring students together, back together, through open discussions and accessibility to student government leadership. And we recognize that this year has been one of great strife, especially for racial minorities. I will never know and can fully fathom the experiences that individuals in our community carry with them. And it is because we value these experiences that Mason and I will seek to listen, engage, and advocate for all students and on behalf of all students. We also want to create more effective avenues for addressing issues of mental and spiritual health on campus. In the article, Mental Health at Wheaton, Kelsey Plankiel says, Wheaton students, as attendees of one of the most rigorous Christian colleges in the country, are not exempt from this academic-related anxiety. There is no doubt that people are experiencing increased levels of loneliness and isolation due to COVID-19 and its effects. Therefore, we aim to increase communication and transparency between you, the student government, and the administration. Ultimately, it is our goal to represent the entirety of the student body, and to do so while seeking to honor the Lord. Now I'll hand it over to Mason.
Thank you, Wheaton. Hello, everyone. My name is Mason Laney. I'm an economics and political science major, and I'm currently serving as the EVP of Academic Affairs. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you to the election committee for all of the work and effort that they have put in to get us here tonight. It's a crazy and abnormal time, and it takes a lot from you to do it. Nobody prefers doing these things over Zoom, but we'd all want to be in Laura Beamer giving speeches or going from dorm to dorm talking to each other in person. But this year has required a lot of change. It's taken a lot from us. And I know the burnout is definitely real. Quiet Week could not be coming anytime sooner. And I'm grateful for it. I know many of my friends are grateful for it. Sadly, though, Quiet Week won't necessarily solve a crisis that is developing on our campus. And this crisis that I refer to is one that has developed from the roughness of this past year, whether that be in the political violence that we've seen, the racial injustice that we have seen, or in the pandemic that we are all actively living in. It's a crisis of disconnection, a disconnection from each other. And while student government may not be able to, in its capacity, make every individual student on campus feel less isolated or alone or disconnected, it can contribute to an environment on campus that is more welcoming, more open, and more importantly, grace-filled. And that's why Hayden and I, over the next year, are focusing our efforts on bringing people from every reach of campus together. We're going to do things like open up new avenues for discussion, open up SG like never before to the student body, try to get people involved. And importantly, as Hayden mentioned, to highlight the mental and spiritual health crisis that is developing on campus that many students have to address and deal with every day. And that's something that's really close to our hearts. There's much to be done with all of it. And it is our hope that over this next year, we can all come together and experience a greater sense of belonging at Wheaton. Thank you all for this opportunity.
Thank you, Hayden and Mason. We're now going to proceed to our Q&A. I'll just give a brief pause here for those who are just now tuning in. I see the numbers going up. Please submit questions via the Slido with the code 644152. That's 644152. Thanks again. We're going to begin with the questions that were pre-submitted via the Google form sent out to the student body. And I'll make sure you get your full 10 minutes of Q&A. So the first question here Your campaign speaks greatly to the isolation that many students have experienced here on campus during COVID-19. This is a multi-part question, so I'll just start with the first question. Can you speak as well to the issues of student safety that many minority and LGBTQ+ students have faced here on campus, and what are your plans to continue to advocate for their personal safety on campus?
First of all, thank you for that question. As we mentioned earlier, this year has been extremely painful for a lot of racial minorities, and we recognize that a lot of students do in fact feel unsafe at this school, and that is absolutely horrible. And in order to address issues like these, there needs to be closer partnership with the OMD and with ISP and with student leaders that have the ability to speak to these issues. Mason and I, since we are not minorities, we cannot speak to those issues specifically. And so we really want to listen. That is most important to us, that we are listening, not just listening, but able to engage and advocate for them, especially when it comes to issues of race, but also issues of sexuality. Partnering with the chaplain of sexuality, this new role that's emerged in the chaplain's office, is really important. And also getting insight from groups like Strongholds, and in general, partnering more so with the counseling center at Wheaton. And the article that I referenced in my speech talks specifically about the mental health issue for Wheaton in general, and highlights the mental health issue for multicultural students. And so in general, it's important that we seek these conversations, and that we're engaging with people that have the explicit knowledge to speak on these things, and to listen, but to not be complacent in that listening, but to engage and to advocate as well.
Yeah, and I'd love to add on to that too, because this is a vital question. And I know from my past experience in SG over the last year, getting to work on a grant program that we run, and cooperating with the OMD was a pleasure, and they're wonderful people. They even put up a poster on the front of the door, just so that students could know we got applications and all these other things. I really appreciate their effort. It's a wonderful space. And when it comes to issues like these on campus, especially when it comes to feelings of isolation and lack of safety that comes with that, I can say that while those problems are unique in themselves, there's some semblance of it that I have had this feeling of walking across campus before and looking around and feeling like, for some reason, I'm completely unnoticeable, right? It's the strangest sensation I've had before walking on campus, looking around and seeing other people talking and enjoying food and all of these other things. And it's this moment of, I just feel by myself here, like I'm not part of this, whatever everyone else around me is doing. It's a horrible, horrible sensation. It's something that I would wish upon no one, especially not something as sacred to you, as who you are. So definitely something that goes to Hayden and I deeply, and it is our absolute intention to work with the OMD and the ISP, and to build bridges with those organizations, with other organizations on campus, like Ulio and Unidad, whether that be going out and doing events with them, or a multicultural festival, or just sitting down and listening to them, so that's definitely crucial. Absolutely, and I'd love to talk more about it with the person, or with anyone else who'd be willing to. Where email us, DM us, reach out to us. We want to have this conversation. Thank you.
I'll combine the remaining parts of this question into one. What specific systemic structures do you have in mind to help support racialized minority students, and how will you help students of color who need a direct route to higher administration?
That's a wonderful question. As Mason mentioned earlier, I think a lot of these conversations need to continue. And so we'll do our best to answer these questions right now, but also would like to meet with any of you who are willing to meet. Specifically when it comes to systemic structures, I think it's important in general that the campus is educated more so on the issues of race. And that's really important, not only for students, but for faculty as well. And making sure, if Mason and I are in a place of power, that there are people also in places of power that can speak to these issues. I can't explain how important this is, that we have people that have the personal experience to speak to these issues and to hear them, because it is not the same coming from someone who does not know and can never fully understand. And so amplifying their voices and empowering them and encouraging them to also have these platforms is incredibly important, incredibly important. And as we mentioned earlier, partnering with other organizations on campus like the OMD and ISP to better have these conversations to address any systemic issues that might be there. But in all, it's just overall, it's really important that the people that have these experiences and are minorities are in a place of power so that we can also hear them as well.
Thank you. Our next question is, why did you choose your running mate?
That is a wonderful question. Mason, do you want to go first?
I want to do this so badly. Yes. So it's kind of funny. One of my friends texted me out of the blue one day. This was when I was coming to Wheaton as a senior in high school, just graduated. And she's like, I'm at a conference right now, and there's this girl from Wheaton here. Like, you're in the same school, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to Wheaton. And she's like, oh, here's your number. So she like sends her over, and I get a text from her. I don't know who she is. I was also very sick at the time. Just this is like a side fact. And so because I was very sick, I was not thinking straight. I had like a feverish brain. And so she was like asking all these questions, like, oh, you should get involved in this. I can help you get connected with these things, like all into it. And I was just sitting there like dying of a fever. And I just kind of texted her back. I was like, I'm really not feeling like talking right now. Sorry, maybe I'll catch up with you later. And it was like the worst thing I could ever have said over text in that moment. And after that, it was so hard, but Hayden, thank God she's a forgiving person, because in the future we met each other and she was like, okay, yeah, it's completely fine. I understand. But from then on, we've been good friends. And it was funny actually deciding to run, because we really spent a lot of time thinking about it, going back and forth and back and forth. And eventually we felt that God was calling us to do so. And I thank God for the opportunity. I thank God that even through my stupidity, we can come together and have this opportunity. So yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the story, which is quite funny that even before Mason got to Wheaton, we knew of each other and had opportunities to get to know each other better over this year. But the great thing about Mason and I, just in our partnership, is that we're kind of like, we complement each other really well. And that's why running with him was so important to me, that I had someone so grounded, so logistical and practical. And that was really important to me, as I am also a very big picture, relational person as well. And I think that brings a lot of value to have someone who is more detail oriented, combined with someone that's more big picture. And so also just our personality differences as well seemed like a really helpful duo for us.
Thank you. Our next question is from the Slido. What would be the first proposal or initiative you want to work on when you enter into your position?
Wonderful question. Wonderful question. There's honestly so many to choose from, but first of all, bringing a proposal to the floor about reopening the forum wall in order to make sure that all students are being heard on campus. I think especially within the pandemic and feeling more isolated than ever, a lot of people are feeling disconnected from Wheaton students, what they're thinking, people in areas that they've never talked to before. And I've talked to various people who have expressed their interest in the forum wall and how they've actually learned a lot from it and heard perspectives that they never would have heard without having that. So that would be one of our first initiatives, as I think that's important and promotes civil discourse for students of all different backgrounds and beliefs to be able to have a say, even if there's no explicit platform that they occupy, but to have accessibility to the forum wall is really important.
Thank you. We are unfortunately out of time for this segment. Thank you so much, Hayden and Mason, for being with us, for sharing your speech and your platform, and for answering these questions. We're now going to transition to the next set of our next cohort for the senior and sophomore class co-presidents. So once again, thank you, Hayden and Mason. And at this time, I'll ask the others to join us.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. See you later.
Okay, and we're going to admit all right, to those of you tuning in live, for the Slido, please submit your questions in the Q&A section rather than in the polls section. Alrighty. Oh, whoops. And JY and Sean, are we good to go? Okay, lovely. What we're gonna do here is while JY and Sean are delivering their speech, Andrew and Jillian, could you just turn off your video and then vice versa when we move to the next one? Thank you so much. Perfect. So we're going to begin with the two of you, JY and Sean. Please remember to keep your speech under 3 minutes total. You're welcome to allocate it respectively however you like within that, 1.5 minutes each or whatever distribution, but the total should remain under or equal to 3 minutes. All right. Following the 6 minutes of speeches, we'll then have 10 minutes of Q&A time. Any questions about that?
That sounds good. Yeah. Yeah, we should be good. Okay, should be good.
All right, fantastic. Well then.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Okay. Yeah, so we'll start off. Good afternoon, guys. So my name is Sean Kim, and this is my co-president Joseph Yoon, or JY, and it's like our honor and privilege to be here right now delivering this very short but important message. And it's really only through God's grace that we're actually standing here today alive as candidates for senior class president. And really, we've just been thinking of all the various ways that we can best serve the class and address its most challenging issues, and just find working plans moving forward. So this discussion actually led us to decide on USA as our campaign rally, and that stands for Unity, Service, and Action. Of course, we love both definitions of the term USA, but now we're going to expand some more on our vision.
Okay, so the first part of our vision is unity. And Sean and I truly believe that more than ever, there is a dire need for the student body to come together within unity. Without knowing it or with knowing it, there's been a lot of growing gaps between different communities, whether that's cultures or races, or even groups within certain cultures. And we firmly believe that the kingdom of God encompasses all people of all cultures and races to come together for the sole purpose of praising him. So the first step towards this goal is for there to be open communication between all parties, whether big or small. And there needs to be grace for some to listen and the courage for some to ask. So unity starts with intention, and we believe that we can bring this to the table. And secondly, our second thing is service. Although this is the second agenda for the sake of our acronym USA, this is our first priority. We believe that all leadership is a form of servanthood. Just like Jesus Christ, our man, we hope to not lead by pulling ahead, but to truly serve those who need us. Now, this can look like in many forms, and we are excited to discover and delve into what it looks like further. And finally, action. I'm sure a lot of people have this as their campaign as well. But what use is words when we do not put it into action? For us to sit here and explain the various things to do would be meaningless. Instead, let Sean and I show this promise by living it out through our last year here at Wheaton.
Yeah, so all that to say, we're excited to potentially serve you guys, senior class, as your class presidents, and just feel free, open to just come approach us anytime. We're open to any suggestions, any of your ideas. We're always open and ready to talk. So thank you all. And
Thank you so much. And Sean and I have been living all around the world in various different countries. So if you have any questions, so please come and ask and we can talk.
Yeah, otherwise, yep, that's our speech.
Thank you.
Thank you, JY and Sean. I'm going to ask the two of you to turn off your video now, and Andrew and Jillian, you may now turn on your video. Wonderful. And you may take it away at your leisure.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Jillian.
And we're super excited to share with you some of the reasons why we are going to be great sophomore class co-president candidates.
Some of these reasons we are qualified for this position: we both have experience in leadership positions at work, church, as well as at school. We both currently are on the freshman class council, and we've learned a lot about student government and how it functions through that. And most importantly, we care about the class of 24 and we have vision for the future.
Yeah, so with that, we'd love to share part of our vision and our platform. Our platform involves three main aspects. Those involve quiet, calling, and connection.
I'm going to go dive into quiet a little bit. This year has been really insane. We've listened to our fellow classmates and just found how stressed and busy people are. So next year, we really want to focus on rest and rejuvenation in Christ. Rest is not necessarily the absence of something, rather the presence of peace. And we wish to connect our class to God's presence and the peace that comes with it.
Yeah. And secondly, calling. With so much uncertainty about the future and pressure to pull life together at this stage of life, college is a very important time of preparation. And Jillian and I are super excited to give you some practical ways to find career, vocation, and mission. And we believe the best way to do this is by connecting with the Creator who gives calling.
Lastly, we invite you to form deeper relationships with your Savior, Jesus Christ, the experienced Wheaton professors, and fellow classmates. We are advocating for connections in the crowd. We believe that Wheaton is best whenever it is interconnected.
Yeah, so to conclude, Jillian and I, we're both experienced leaders, knowledgeable of student government. We have a great vision and platform to share with you guys. And we're super excited to represent the class of 24. We love you guys so much. Don't forget to vote on April 7th.
If anybody has any additional questions or would like to chat, please reach out. We would love to get to know you. You can reach out through our Instagram, which is Vote Andrew and Jillian. And like Andrew said before, remember to vote Andrew and Jillian on April 7th. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. We're now going to proceed to our Q&A. Again, for those of you who are attending live, please feel free to submit questions via the Slido with the code 644152. Please submit your questions to the Q&A section and not the poll section. We're going to begin with questions for our senior class co-presidents, candidates, JY and Sean. And you'll have a maximum of 5 minutes for your time here. Our first question is, what are you planning on doing to make our last year in Wheaton a memorable one?
Want to go first? Okay. So we have certain things planned out. So we truly believe in finishing strong. That was part of our slogan, saying that like Paul said, we want to finish the race. We want to fight the good fight. And in making this year memorable, it's going to be tricky with COVID, but it's going to loosen up a little bit next semester. So first of all, the first thing we want to do is gather all the senior members together. or like different leaders from different positions and bring them all together to discuss how we can have a memorable year. And also this is going to look into how we're going to do our student banquet, our senior banquet, also our commencement. And so we're gonna try to make things more interesting, kind of make it unorthodox, and kind of leave from the standard, in weird times,
Yeah, so like the exact details haven't really been worked out yet, but we're really open to ideas that y'all have. Whatever like you think will be fun, memorable, just bring them to the table, and then they'll be discussed and considered.
One thing that Sean was talking about is sporadic Chick-fil-A nights for seniors, which is always a plus. So.
Thank you. Our next question is, why did you choose your running mate?
I can go first, actually. Yeah, so first of all, like we're really good friends. Even though like we bring a lot of differences to the table, I think we kind of balance each other out. And like we thought it'd be a good experience running together. We bring different strengths to the table, different weaknesses where we'll cover for each other. We just like having fun together and just hanging out. And now we're looking to like serve y'all, the senior class. So.
And to add on to that a little bit, Sean and I have been talking about serving as a class president since our freshman year. And then this is like we took this as our opportunity. And we truly do have different strengths. Even by looking at us, I'm kind of like chubby, short. He's kind of long and lanky. But we hope to but we do bring different like creative differences. And we had a lot of fun during these last 3 years. And we want to share this with everyone else too.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Next question. What are your goals for your class this coming year?
Well, first of all, I'd like to make sure that everyone graduates on time, and I mean they finish off their year well. Senior class, I mean it's the last year, so that's also important. Getting your academics in order. So we'll help in every capacity, whether that's through like the CVC or other creative ways where we can just help you guys in like academics with professors.
Yeah, and one thing that wanted to emphasize is also unity, and that's another part of our slogan. But then it's been a year where, in recent light of recent shootings in Colorado or Atlanta, or even George Floyd in the summer, there's so many things that are going on that's creating these minute tensions. And for us as a seniors, we want to be the examples for the student body, and we want to try to solve these problems not by ourselves. But we're Asian, but then we also have different backgrounds, so not by ourselves, but then by bringing every person together. Conversation. And we're hoping that when we leave, we have a better understanding of other races and cultures than when we first started.
Yeah, so that would be like a big picture goal, actually.
Thank you. How do you plan to engage with differences of opinion in the class of 2022?
Yeah, so right now I've been serving as an RA, and Sean has been serving in ROTC and other various leadership roles. And I think that's one of the biggest questions that we have to ask ourselves every day, because there's different visions on where to take it, where to take certain directions. I think the best thing to do is have good conversation. But even before that, one of the things that I really like to emphasize is prayer. Unity comes from the gospel. Unity comes from, basically our faith. So if we can go back to that and start from that solid foundation and keep going, I think there can be multiple ideas that can work together in correlation to each other without one person having the main idea.
Yeah, I mean, so we're not all gonna agree. Like, not everyone's gonna agree on the same idea or have the same opinions. But if we have that foundation of like, okay, we're still brothers and sisters in Christ, then we can have the conversation from there. And like, it just needs to be out of grace for each other and respect. And so we're like all for that, and we're open to having communication, essentially.
Thank you. That's unfortunately all the time we have for questions. Thank you again, JY and Sean.
Thank you.
If you could mute your camera and video and your audio, we'll switch now to Andrew and Jillian again. Wonderful. You will also have 5 minutes of question time. You're welcome to take however long or little or short as you'd like for each question, but you'll be capped at the total 5 minutes. Okay. Our first question for you is a repeat here. why did you choose your running mate?
Yeah, so I can go first on that one. Jill and I actually met in the freshman class council, and immediately I just knew she was a hard worker, and she likes to get the job done, which I really appreciated. We have a lot of similar interests. We've got to become closer friends outside of freshman class council as well. And I can't speak entirely for her, but I'm pretty sure both of us were also, we were planning on trying to run for some kind of class council position for sophomore year. And I know for me, I've been thinking about the class co-president for a while. And so it just worked out perfectly that both of us being on the freshman class council, we're also planning to go to the sophomore class co-president position. And so I think it's just worked awesome in that aspect.
Yeah, and also just knowing Andrew from the council, he's been super hardworking and diligent at his tasks, and I just value his commitment to everything he does. And I just found that we had a lot of similar values whenever it comes to leadership style, and we feel that we would work really well together as co-presidents.
Yeah.
Thank you. Our next question, what are your goals for the class of 2024 for the following year?
Yeah, I can touch on that a little bit as well. I just found that freshman year has been a very different year for everyone. And it's looking like next year we'll have kind of a closer idea of what Wheaton originally was. But I think a really important thing that we can do is not invalidate the year that we've had and just celebrate it and continue on and help people find rest and rejuvenation. And sophomore year is a big year to connect to the CBC and help people find their calling and their career and mission of where God wants them. And then just continue connecting each other as well to the Wheaton profs. We found that this year was really unfortunate that we didn't get to connect to our profs as much, and we really want to help our class find ways to engage with their professors.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
Thank you. How do you plan on engaging with differences of opinion within the class of 2024?
So I can hit that one. So there's always going to be differences of opinion in any aspect and area of life. And so first and foremost, we want to make sure everybody is heard. We want to promote voices from everybody, specifically people who feel like their voices are not heard currently. So we want to start by promoting those voices and making sure everybody has an equal playing field there. And then take into account the needs of the entire student body as a whole in thinking of all those aspects there, so that they can then be processed as what they are, the true opinions of people, and validated for what they are. And then obviously some people are not going to be happy with certain things. You can't please everybody all the time, but our goal is to make sure that everybody is heard at all times as sophomore class co-presidents.
Adding on to that as well, we believe in the power of prayer, and we just believe a lot of discrepancies in judgment and discourse between people can be resolved through prayer. And we really are focusing our efforts on prayerfully leading the sophomore class.
Thank you. Next question. How are you planning on implementing culturally diverse or aware agendas or programming?
Yeah, so culturally diverse and programming that promotes the minority students on campus are definitely, that's one of the priorities for Jillian and I's co-presidency. I know that we want to start by promoting the voices of those who are in the shoes of minorities to be on our class council. We want to promote people who are influencers in those communities and who hear the hurts and the desires of the minority and diverse culture communities, so that we can promote their specific needs in our sophomore class.
Yeah, and adding on to that, we definitely look forward to listening to people as well. I think that's one of the greatest things we can do. And then leading from that, just planning any events or connection points that would benefit any of our minority students.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrew and Jillian. Jaywan and Sean, can we have you resume your camera for a final goodbye and thank you? They might not be here.
Hey, well, we wanted to thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate you, Daniel, and the freshman class right now.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you guys for the opportunity. Yeah, it was a blast.
Wonderful. Thank you both. I think all four of you.
And good luck to all the other contestants.
Yeah, you guys got this.
Wonderful.
You too.
At this time, I'm going to see here. Oops. All righty. Wonderful. Thanks everybody for joining us. I'm Daniel. I'm the student body vice president, and I'm serving as the election commissioner for this race. With us today are our junior class co-presidents. There are 2 tickets running against each other tonight, and we're going to have 3-minute speeches from each of the ticket, a combined 3 minutes for both of you, followed by roughly 10 minutes of Q&A time. We're going to, for the Q&A section, and I'll repeat this again later, but for the Q&A, we're going to cycle between questions, and one ticket will answer first, followed by the second ticket, but for the next question, the second ticket will answer first, then the first, in order to keep it fair. For those of you tuning in live, please feel free to submit your questions via Slido using the code 644152. That's 644152. Thank you all. Oh, and if you submit questions, please make sure to do it in the Q&A section and not the poll section of the Slido. Thanks again. All righty. Without any further ado, Sasha and Elsa, would you like to deliver your speech?
Yeah, we're ready. Okay, so hi. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Elsa Bademan.
And hi, guys. I'm Sasha Danielson. We don't have a lot of time to talk today, so we just want to jump right in.
So we opened up for some questions, and a lot of people were kind of asking, why did you guys decide to run? And deciding to run was honestly a really simple decision for us. Sasha and I saw a need for leaders who have time, drive, willingness, and passion to represent and empower the students of our class. So tonight we're going to share a little bit of our overview of our vision for this upcoming school year.
Yeah, so for this upcoming school year, we commit to being enthusiastic, communicative, interpersonal leaders with you, the student body, and your needs at the center of our attention. Wheaton College is a college that really strives for greatness, but like all institutions run by humans that are rooted in sin, there are so many areas that we fall short. I think we do a lot of things right at Wheaton, and I'm really proud to be a Wheaton student, but there are a couple things that we want to focus on just for the next school year as we push forward. We want to celebrate diversity and inclusion, and we want to place more of an emphasis on mental health awareness.
As co-presidents, we want to be flexible leaders and listeners. We want to be the kind of people who are approachable and inclusive. We want to sit in Saga and have members of our student body come up to us and talk to us and tell them how they're doing. It's really important to us that all the members of the class of 2023 feel known in their grade. And further than being known, we really want you all to know that you're valued in your own uniqueness.
Some tangible changes that we're already brainstorming in response to student suggestions. Includes working with our cabinet, EVPs, to create more de-stressing places on campus for students to go and take a break. De-stress week is such a success on campus, but it only comes once a semester. And I don't know about all of you guys, but I'm stressed literally every single day of college, of every semester. And I would love to see an outlet to relax with my peers that Wheaton College encourages.
We also want to create an environment in our classes community where there's less shame attached to our imperfections and sufferings, because these are the best places for ultimate healing and perfection to enter in, and I mean God's perfection. I'm specifically talking about mental health here. We want students in our class to feel comfortable sharing what they're going through, and we want to work toward creating better support here at Wheaton for all the pain that so many students are burdened with.
We want there to be more conversation where people's raw perspectives are shared. Right now, it often feels as if our differences have to create dissonance between each other. Especially in this past year, there's been so much hate and violence, forcing Wheaton to address hard topics and intentionally work in pursuit of big change. Else and I would be honored as your class presidents to aid Wheaton during this monumental time and work with and represent you to implement the changes we all want to see.
We want to promise you that if we are voted in, Sasha and I will advocate for you. We will seek you out, listen to you, and work with the school to ensure that you're represented.
There's only so much we can cover in 3 minutes, so check out our Instagram for more information. Thank you.
Thank you both. Our next ticket will be Connor and Melissa. So Sasha and Elsa, if you can turn off your videos for now. Wonderful. Thank you. Please take it away.
Awesome. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for being here on a Friday night or watching the recording whenever you're watching. Connor and I are very excited to share with you a little bit about what we're hoping to do for our class this coming year if we have the opportunity. So this is very different over Zoom, but just by way of introduction, I'm Melissa, and I'm really excited to be running with Connor for your junior class co-presidents. I'm currently a political science and Spanish major, pursuing a pre-law certificate. Connor's also a political science major with a philosophy minor, also pursuing a pre-law certificate. Now, over the 2 years I've been here at Wheaton, I've had the amazing opportunity to be involved in the mock trial team, to be very involved with my DSG, and also to work a couple of jobs on campus. And I've loved every minute that I've spent here. Connor's had the awesome opportunity of being involved in student government over the last 2 years. And specifically this year, he was elected into the EVP of Student Life and Engagement position. And through that experience has learned a lot. Now, it's those experiences that I've had outside of student government and the experiences that Connor has had inside student government that led us to want to run together. And it's also what led us to kind of develop our platform that we're running on. Now, I'm sure you've seen in the newsletter or on Instagram or wherever you've checked that the platform Connor and I are using is Cultivating a Christ-Centered Community. And he's going to tell you a little bit more about that here in a second. But if you want to hear more, please reach out to us, send us an email, check out our Instagram, let us know. We'd love to tell you more, but Connor's going to take it away and explain a little bit real quick.
Yeah, so kind of as Melissa said, our platform is cultivating a Christ-centered community. What does this really mean? For cultivating, we want to just facilitate a better communication between student government and the junior class. And we have a few ways in which we want to do this, such as just having more transparency, so just having town halls and things like this, so we can hear your opinion and just what you want to hear from us and what you want from us. And then just diversity, which you'd like to bring about through just representation, accessibility, and diversifying. If you'd like to know more about this, as Melissa said, you can check out our Instagram. And then Christ-centered, as we all know, we go to a Christian college, and we want to just help strengthen the faith that we've seen here and the faith on campus, just by helping bring about the LTG groups and continuing those, because so many people had such great experiences with them over this year, and just bringing back the worship nights we used to have, and just being able to just spend time with each other and spend time with God. And then we have community, which, we've lost so much time due to COVID, a year and a half of our school year, of our college experience. And we just like to be able to cherish this time and just really spend time with each other and just figure out, what we are. So we just want to be able to have some events and just include everybody and just create events that everybody would enjoy and like. So this is some of the key parts of our platform. And we want to be able to collaborate with people as well, with just different EVPs, because our class is so passionate about so many things, such as mental health or just sustainability. And we're not able to do all these things by ourselves. So we want to help out. We want the EVPs to help us out in these areas as well.
Thank you both. Wonderful. For Q&A, I'm going to ask all four of you to turn on your cameras. And our first question is going to go to, we'll go in the opposite order. So our first question will go to Melissa and Connor. And then Sasha and Elsa, you'll answer the same question after them. And then we'll do that switcheroo I talked about earlier. You will be limited with a hard stop here to 1 minute for each of your answers. You don't need to take up the full time, but I will stop you at exactly 1 minute for the sake of fairness. So without further ado, Melissa and Connor, what is the favorite thing about your class?
I love our class because particularly over the last year, I've really been able to see the ways in which we're diverse more than just like what you might see from the beginning. I've gotten to know some really cool people this past year with all sorts of different experiences of where they've grown up, different places they've lived. I've kind of bounced around the country and like the world in my life. And so that's been really cool to find other people in our class who are like the same. And I guess it's characteristic of a lot of Wheaton, but there's a lot of people I've gotten to know in our class specifically with some really cool backgrounds, missionary kids, military kids, all of the above, who all contribute to our class in a lot of different ways that I think is really fun and allows for a lot of different like diversity and understandings and experiences that lead to a lot of different opinions, which can obviously make some things difficult, but also really enriches our class and our class experience together.
Thank you. And Sasha and Elsa, what is your favorite thing about your class?
Yeah, so I think that I can speak for Elsa and I when I say that our favorite part of our class is just the people. Elsa and I have been so blessed to get to know so many people. We love sitting in Saga literally all day. And just as people pass by, when we're in one of the middle tables, just stopping to talk to everybody, hearing about different communities that people are part of on campus that we might not necessarily be a part of ourselves. I know a lot of people on different sports teams, and I like to hear about how their practices and games are going, or different clubs around campus that I might not necessarily have the time or necessarily the like mindset to join. I just love hearing about what everybody's doing and seeing all the events that people work so hard to put together. And I feel like our class, the current sophomore class, has a lot of people that are in leadership positions in each of those clubs and are really pursuing their passions, which is really inspiring.
Thank you. Again, for Sasha and Elsa, how are you planning on implementing culturally diverse agendas or programming?
Yeah, so Sasha and I have talked a lot about this. We really want to focus on encouraging and celebrating the diversity of our class if we're presidents next year. And a big thing that we've talked about is kind of entering that position of leadership with a lot of humility and being willing to ask students how they want to be represented and what they want, like what conversations they want to be going on. And like, I think a lot of times when we engage in conversations about diversity, it's hard because everyone, again, in the topic of diversity, everyone has a different idea. And I think that it's really important to hear from people about what they want to be talked about and who wants to be represented. And we just want to give a platform and an audience to anyone who wants to talk about their perspectives. And we want to be good listeners, and we want to like share the leadership with people who maybe know more than us about certain things.
And Melissa and Connor, how are you planning on implementing a culturally diverse agenda and programming?
Yeah, so kind of how we touched on in our intro speech, we would like to just do this to basically represent, like having a diverse student council through representation. So getting every viewpoint, every possible viewpoint we can. Accountability, so just organizing ways for everyone in our class to just hear, like have their voice heard by us, so everybody can communicate and we just know what's going on and you know what the issues are people are having and stuff like this. And then just diversifying, so getting creative with the types of events we plan and just trying to create events in which everybody can feel a part of, you know, and everybody gets to put their input into, are kind of how we are going to try to do that.
Thank you. Our next question will be again for you, Melissa and Connor. What is one thing you admire about the other ticket?
Okay, I would love to answer this question. I like have known Sasha and Elsa both for like, you know, since freshman year on and off and like tangentially at different points, but I like am always amazed at the energy that they both have. Like every time I see Elsa, she's like going somewhere and like doing something and like so excited to tell people about it. And like in any interaction I've had with Sasha is the same. And I think that's just like a fantastic energy to have and like way to put yourself out there and to encourage people and everybody you see and just be like, oh, hi. And like every time I see Elsa, she's like, hi, Melissa. Like, oh, hey, like even if I'm totally distracted. And I think that that's obviously not easy to have when you're in the midst of like stress of life and craziness. And like, I mean, as like pre-med majors, I can't even imagine, right? Like they're both super busy, but having that energy still despite the stress and the chaos and whatever it is that they're going through, I think is very admirable.
And Sasha and Elsa, what is one thing you admire about the other ticket?
Yeah, I can speak to this one. Thank you so much for those kind words, Melissa. I would say that something that I admire about Connor and Melissa is just seeing the way that they get involved on campus. Both of them have their passions, and it's really inspiring to see how, like in the past, they've run for positions to pursue those passions, or they've put themselves out there in different ways, and they've just really gotten involved on campus. And I think that's so admirable. Just even freshman year, both of them getting involved in different things, or sophomore year, both of them. This year, Melissa mentioned she was on mock trial. Connor's currently in student government. It's just awesome to see you guys pursuing your passions, even at such a young age before we even made it to upperclassmen. Like, I really admire that.
Thank you. And now for you again, what is something you have learned during the election process?
I can talk about this one. I have learned so much about just how important it is to know people and to be known by people. I think that oftentimes it's really easy to get swallowed up in academics at Wheaton, and throughout this election process, the amount of people that have seen Sasha and I's campaign and said things to us, or even just hearing about other people's, we've posted things on Instagram and people have commented or told us things that they'd like us to do if we're elected. And it's just really awesome to feel so connected and to, I don't know, I just think that I've realized how important it is to know people and to like build relationships, not just with your best friends or a couple close friends, but with a lot of the student body. I just, at Wheaton, which is a smaller school, it's really beautiful to be able to kind of foster relationships with a lot of different people.
And Melissa and Connor, what is one thing you've learned during the election process?
Yeah, so I guess something I've learned at least is just how connected Wheaton's campus is. You know, you'll be talking to somebody and then, 20 minutes later, you're talking to somebody else. They just happen to know them. And it's just amazing to see how close knit the Wheaton community is, and just how just, I guess close is really the only word I can use to describe it, and just how much everybody enjoys being around each other, and just what a friendly atmosphere it is. You can strike up a conversation with just anybody. It's so nice to just be able to do that. Just walk up to a person and say, hey, how are you doing? And 20 minutes later, you're friends. And that's just something I've really learned on campus this year during the election process.
Thank you. I think this may be our final question here, but if you were to engage in town halls, how often would you do this? Melissa and Connor.
That's a great question. And I think obviously it's something that we have to like figure out the exact practicality of it and how it would work. But I think something that I've been thinking about is just how we've gotten really used to this virtual format, and how next year we might not need that, but it may still be a helpful resource. So maybe we do like an in-person town hall once a month, once every couple of months, but then just have like Connor and I hanging out and available on Zoom to anybody to pop in and that sort of thing more often than that. Or if we're like spending some time working on something, we say, okay, Thursday evenings for an hour, we're just going to have Zoom open, or we're going to be in this classroom. So like more of an informal town hall much more often, but a more formal availability and opening it up for people, whether that's virtual or in person, like less often, maybe once a month, once every other month sort of thing. But obviously it depends a lot on how things play out, but that's sort of what we're hoping.
Thank you. And Sasha and Elsa, if you were to engage in town halls, how often would you do this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Elsa and I are both very extroverted people. We really like talking to others, especially if we were elected, talking to the student body that we're representing. And so I think just hanging out in public places would be a major part of our candidacy. But also with town halls, I think it would be important to have them at least once a month, or in response if something major happens in the world around campus, hosting kind of a impromptu town hall where students can come and voice their frustrations or voice how they're feeling, or have a space where they're able to share, just so we can kind of carry that forward in the passions that we're pursuing. So physical town halls, I would say once a month or more often as needed, but we always want to be available via Instagram DM or phone numbers, or just hanging out in public spaces, updating people where we are, to be able to talk and really hear what everybody's going through, because that's something that's super important to us.
Well, thank you to both tickets, all 4 candidates. That does conclude our time for the junior class co-president speech night event here. Thank you to all 4 of you for being here and for all of those tuning in. We're about to head into our intermission. So would the 4 of you like to say a final thank you before we close up here?
Yeah, thank you for organizing all of this, Daniel, and election committee, whoever else is there.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. This has
Thank
been
you so much. Yeah, it's been awesome.
Connor. Bye.
All righty, take care. For those of you still on our YouTube Live, we're gonna go now into intermission. And let me put this up here. And we will resume promptly at 9 p.m. The YouTube Live itself will continue, but nothing will happen until 9 p.m. So thank you to all who are joining us, and we hope to see you in about half an hour.
and I'm a candidate for EVP of Student Wellness. Promoting connections across campus and continuity across school years in order to
All right, we are not yet starting, just FYI. We're just getting our EVPs in as we explain how the night's gonna go. For those of you watching live, we're gonna begin at 9 p.m. So let's see here. Hey everybody, how's it going? All right. I don't know that all of us are here, but I'm gonna go ahead and explain how things are gonna go. Again, for those of you watching live, I'm just talking to the candidates. You can ignore us for the next 9 minutes. We're gonna start at 9 o'clock sharp, and we're gonna begin with the contested EVP races. So that's gonna be, Ella and Heather are running for EVP of Student Wellness. And then Raymond Jin and Katie Malloy will be running for EVP of Academic Affairs. Now, Heather is not joining us live today. She's not able to make it. So what we're going to be doing for her is she's pre-submitted a recording of her speech as well as an answer to 2 questions, which we will be playing for this live feed. She's limited to just the 2 questions that we gave her ahead of time. For those of you here live, you will have the full 5 questions per candidate for the contested EVP races and 4 for the uncontested. And we'll kind of fiddle with the time as we need, but we'll make sure to keep it equitable. Each person will have an equal opportunity to speak. For the contested races, what we're gonna do is you are gonna answer the same questions, right, to keep things fair there, but we're going to alternate orders. So it'll be like person 1, person 2, then person 2, person 1, etc. So that, you can take turns being the first one to answer a question, again, out of fairness. And I'll explain that more when we get to each person's segment. Both of these segments are 30 minutes. So 30 minutes for the contested races and 30 minutes for the uncontested ones. Before I go on, just any questions about how this is going to work? Nope. Okay. Well, this is going to be recorded. I'm not currently recording. I'll begin the recording at 9, and you are already live. In case people, are not taking their intermission, are instead watching us talk. Yeah. Brett and I are gonna test something real quick to see if we can actually do Heather's, show Heather's video live. So you all will help us test this and tell us if the sound is like going through properly, the video feed is working properly. So go ahead.
Yeah. Please give us a thumbs up if you're hearing the audio without a reverb or anything.
My vision for this role is to be committed to promoting connections across campus and continuity across school years in order to make our campus a more healthy place. One priority I have is to increase student engagement with student government and the decisions being made there. I want my agenda and the proposals I write to reflect not just my...
Okay, how did that work?
It sounds good. It's just a little bit laggy.
Okay. Yeah, we're unfortunately not going to be able to do much about that. In the final recording, though, we'll just use the direct movie file, so there shouldn't be any lag there. During the live event, for those participating, they'll have to bear with the lag a little bit. That's what happens with screen sharing movies or videos. Ray, we're glad you made it.
Also, I think when you showed the video, like we could see all your tabs and everything, like even on the stream. So I don't know if you did that on purpose, but
yeah, he'll make it full screen when the time comes.
Okay.
Let's see here. Okay, well, hang tight for the next 5 minutes as we're finalizing some of our prep work. You can hang around and ask any questions as you see fit, or if you are not in the first cohort, then you're welcome to head back into the waiting room at any time.
How do we go back into the waiting room?
I can just put them there.
I will, yeah, either I or Brett will just put you there.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Could you do that for me too?
So for the three of you, and of course the not here with us, Heather, please bear in mind that your speeches are a max of 2 minutes, and you'll have actually plenty of Q&A time. So the time allotments are just kind of based on the various roles and the fact that you're running as a single candidate rather than a ticket. So it does not make EVPs in any way, shape, or form lesser than class co-presidents.
I have a quick question. Am I only answering like the 2 questions that Heather got asked, or am I answering 5?
You are going to be answering the full 5-minute set. I say 5 minutes rather than a number of questions because the way we've been doing it is sort of just allowing as many questions as we can get in the time allotted. So you're welcome to stay. I mean, if you spend 2.5 minutes on each question, then I guess you'll have 2. I wouldn't recommend that, but yeah, you'll get the full 5 minutes. That was kind of the balanced trade-off that we did here with the pre-recording. You know, you get the option of having, you know, thoroughly planned your response, and you get a kind of a scripted answer there. So in return, for those who are live with us, you'll actually just get more time, more questions, more opportunities to answer. And so it's okay if 1 or 2 of your answers are not, you know, the top tier answer. Yeah. We are, for this contested race, we're going to be limiting your time to a max of 1 minute per answer. That especially matters for our EVP of Academic Affairs contestants who, as you know, will be rotating, right? So yeah, you'll that way you can't take up 5 minutes for your block and leave the other person with no time. And we'll make sure to ask an even number of questions. So I won't cut you off in a way that one of you have answered, but the other hasn't. Okay, and please reference the itinerary for your speaking order. So it's first going to be Ella, then we'll play the recording of Heather, and then it's going to be Ray, and then Katie, okay, for the speeches. And again, 2-minute maximum. We're about to go live, or we are already live, but we're about to begin recording in about 30 seconds. How are y'all feeling? Good. And if you're not, then just make it that.
And it's 9 o'clock.
And it is 9 o'clock. Wonderful. Thank you to all of you joining us on YouTube Live. Welcome to the second half of our speech night tonight. We are so excited for you to be here with us. This is an opportunity for you to just hear directly from the candidates, hear their speeches, hear their platform, their vision, and also ask them questions. So during tonight's speech night, we do have a live Slido Q&A set up with the code 644152. So if you have any questions you want to ask our candidates here, go ahead and pop them in the Q&A section of the Slido, not the polls section, put it in the Q&A. I am Daniel Jew. I'm currently serving this year as the student body vice president, and I am serving as the election commissioner for this 2021 spring student government election set. With us right now are our EVP candidates for student wellness and for academic affairs. So these are the two contested races among the EVPs, and we're going to begin with the student wellness candidates. So unfortunately, Heather Ganfield is not able to make it to tonight's event. So in her stead, we'll be playing a recorded speech as well as her answers to 2 questions that she pre-submitted prior to tonight's event. And I'm going to go ahead and start the recording. There we are. And we're going to kick it off with Ella. Ella, you have 2 minutes. Take it away.
So my name's Ella Wickham, and I'm a rising sophomore international relations and Spanish double major. I first would like to thank all of you guys who are watching the speeches tonight. Secondly, I would really just like to open up your eyes to why I believe that wellness is important and why I'm passionate about my own as well as other people's wellness. Wellness was not important to me until my junior year of high school, but that's when I really received my wake-up call. I began taking harder classes and was deeply involved in student government and was president of multiple different clubs. I managed my tasks fairly well at first, but then I really started to crumble. I was prioritizing my tasks above my mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health. However, when those began to crumble, I could not complete my tasks well, if at all. I needed to begin care for myself so that I could do all that I committed to and all that God was calling me to do. Wheaton is much harder and much more demanding than junior year of high school. However, through caring for my wellness, I have been able to listen to God's calling on my life, as well as be a successful Wheaton student and friend. Knowing how taking care of my wellness affects what I'm capable of. I care about people's wellness because I want us all as believers, friends, and people to be able to do what God is calling us to and live our life with joy and success. I particularly desire that as a student body, we focus on our wellness because of the strain placed on us as a result of COVID-19, AAPI violence, and other massive movements and controversies. In the next year, I pray that we as a student body would find rest, be rejuvenated, and engage and support each other in community, and that we become imaginative in the way we pursue God's calling on our lives, as well as in our individual and collective wellness. Thank you.
Thank you, Ella. We'll now proceed to play the candidate speech by Heather Ganfield.
Hi, my name is Heather Ganfield, and I'm a candidate for EVP of Student Wellness. My vision for this role is to be committed to promoting connections across campus and continuity across school years in order to make our campus a more healthy place. One priority I have is to increase student engagement with student government and the decisions being made there. I want my agenda and the proposals I write to reflect not just my concerns and what I think needs to change about the school, but also the entire student body's student wellness concerns. I'm currently on the Student Wellness Committee, and we are able to survey these students through our own social circles and asking our friends what their concerns are. This gives us some spread across campus, but it still is only surveying a small section of the students. And I would like to increase that representation so the entire student body is being involved in the conversations that are happening in student government. I also am concerned about connecting students to resources. I think a lot of students don't know about what the college offers or how to utilize them. For example, the counseling center, maybe students know it exists, but they don't know how to make an intake appointment. I like to create a platform that consolidates all this information into one place so students don't have to take the time out of their busy schedules to search for that information themselves. I would also like this platform to connect students to each other. We currently have a quarantine care system that is connecting quarantine students with volunteers that are giving both emotional support and logistical support, such as running errands or getting groceries. I would like to expand this program to cover all issues, not just COVID health issues, but issues such as mental health, homesickness, relationship issues, spiritual health, and this will connect students to each other and help us to support each other as a body of Christ. I would be honored to serve as this role and to support students and help them to be successful, healthy individuals. Thank you for listening.
And thank you, Heather. Although you're not with us today, you're very much missed. We'll now hear from our two candidates for the EVP of Academic Affairs, beginning with Raymond Jin and then Katie Malloy. Ray, you have 2 minutes.
Hello, Wheaton student body. I'm Ray Jin, and I'm reporting to you from Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, since I am in ROTC training right now. But luckily, I was able to make it today. So I'm a rising junior, class of 2023, political science major, and I'm the current administrative manager of the SG board. So there are 3 things that I really want to emphasize on, which is action, accountability, and academic. With those 3 components, I want to make sure like you're all being heard and making sure like your input is actually being put into the proposals and the policies that we legislate as a student body. At the same time, I want to increase accountability and transparency with the grants and the academic programs, because sometimes I feel like there's a lot of times where people just don't know what to do in terms of getting those grants and those resources. So I definitely want to increase accessibility and at the same time transparency, so people actually know what the Academic Affairs Committee and the SG board is doing as a whole. I want to be there for you, and I want to fight for you, and I would never back down from any challenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray. Our next candidate for the EVP of Academic Affairs is Katie Malloy. Please take it away, Katie. Katie, there seems to be a problem with your audio. We cannot actually hear you. Great. To those of you tuning in live, please forgive us for the technical interruption here. We're going to give Katie a minute to find some solution to her audio issue. And if it takes too long, then we'll find a different way to move forward.
All right, can you hear me now? Okay.
All right, perfect.
Amazing.
You have 2 minutes starting now.
Thank you very much. Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Katie Malloy. I am a freshman music performance major and political science minor, and I'm running for EVP of Academic Affairs. And since I don't have a lot of time, I will jump right in. My vision for academic affairs at Wheaton next year can be summarized in 3 words: accommodations, resources, and ethics. Accommodations involves maintaining ease of access to mental health accommodations, ensuring that professors are connected with the Learning and Accessibility Services Office, and working to make sure that students get the appropriate accommodations for their specific needs. Second, resources, or learning resources more specifically, involves improving and increasing advertisement for some of our valuable yet underutilized resources, like faculty librarians, the Writing Center, office hours, making these things seem less threatening, thereby increasing their accessibility. And finally, ethics involves promoting academic honesty and discouraging bias in the classroom. If I were to be elected as the EVP of Academic Affairs, I would be committed to serving the student body and representing their interests. To do this, I would create a capable and diverse committee that will help me better understand the interests of the student body and be able to represent you better. I want to be as accessible and transparent as possible, so my door or my Zoom meeting room will always be open to listen to you and to talk to you. I am incredibly grateful for the opportunity to run for this position and for the friends that I've made along the way, and I hope to serve you next year as the EVP of Academic Affairs. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to move into Q&A, and for the sake of time, I'm going to limit our Q&A to roughly 16 minutes, give or take a minute or two, and also to leave a little bit of buffer time before the next cohort. For those of you tuning in now, please submit your questions for these candidates via our live Slido with the code 644152. That's 644152. We also have pre-prepared questions that we will be using here. For those of you also unfamiliar with the roles of these two positions, I'm going to go ahead and read out a kind of brief description for what each EVP would be responsible for. The purpose of the Executive Vice President of Academic Affairs is to represent students and advocate on their behalf with any issues regarding curriculum, departmental affairs, faculty issues, learning resources, and any other academic affairs issues. The Executive Vice President of Student Wellness exists to address the social, spiritual, emotional, physical, and intellectual needs of the student body. The role experiences some duality in that it exists in both reactive and proactive contexts. This allows the person that holds the position to develop and implement ideas that can proactively address students' needs, but also gives the EVP of Student Wellness the responsibility of aiding in reactive response to obstacles and disputes on campus. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and start our Q&A session here. We're going to begin with our EVP of Student Wellness. And to do that, actually, we're going to first play 2 pre-recorded responses from Heather Ganfield for her Q&A portion.
So the question is, what do you see as the most pressing student wellness related needs on campus? I've noticed that a lot of students, including myself, have struggled with prioritizing their health, such as having a constant sleep schedule, taking time to exercise, eating well. And I think the college could do more to promote healthy habits, and this connects to trying to help students be more connected to resources and just making it easy to make time for it and make it easily accessible to promote these healthy choices. The second question is what most excites me about possibly being on student government. I'm currently on the Student Wellness Committee, and that has been a great experience and given me a glimpse into what student government is like. I've really enjoyed my time on the committee and writing proposals. And student wellness is an issue that interests me a lot, and wellness has been very important in my life. And I'd like to serve the community in that way, in helping promote student wellness and helping to make change on campus and see those proposals come into reality.
Ella, you will now have 5 minutes or just under 5 minutes for your Q&A portion. And you're welcome to take however much time you'd like answering each question with a total cap of 5 minutes. The first question is, what do you see as the most pressing issue for student wellness?
The most pressing issue that I really see on our campus relating to student wellness is really the emotional and mental health of our students right now. A lot of my friends, and myself included, are really just struggling with COVID and the mass shootings that happened in the past week. And those are just things that are really, really heavy on our hearts. And as Christians, should all be heavy on our hearts, whether we are affected by them or not. And I think that it's something that needs to really be addressed, and those resources that we have on campus need to be spoken about, and students should be made well aware of, as well as encouraged to use.
Thank you. What most excites you about possibly being a part of student government?
I was on student government. This is my first year in 5 years that I haven't been in a student government committee, and I really miss it. And I miss being able to be a voice for people and being an advocate. And that's something that I'm very, very passionate about and would like to carry into my future, in my future career, as well as my future time here at Wheaton.
Thank you. Can you give an example of an experience that encouraged you to run for the EVP of Student Wellness?
Oh, that's a hard one. I've had many different experiences that have been very encouraging to me. Probably my most encouraging moment was when I was praying about it and just thinking about what my future was going to be and what positions I should hold or run for in any aspect in leadership at Wheaton. I had a really good friend who's on student government. He came up to me and was like, you should run for the EVP of Student Wellness. You're super, super passionate about the mental and emotional, physical and spiritual health of like all of us as your friends. And I think that this position would be really, really suited to you and you would really enjoy it. And for me, that was really much an answer to prayer. And I'm very thankful for that.
Thank you. How do you plan on involving the student body in student wellness?
The student body needs to really be involved in their own wellness as well as the wellness of each other, and really focus on supporting and bringing that community back into wellness. I would really enjoy to see. I also would like to have a lot of community in understanding and hearing what they would like, and that could be done through like surveys or just talking to people about it and engaging with others, and really encouraging other people close to me, and then having them encourage people that are close to them about focusing on their wellness and what's going on.
Thank you. We have a question from the Slido. Ella, what is a healthy, hearty, and happy meal? And how do you feel Saga can improve on this?
So I'm actually a vegan, and that's something that's very important to my personal wellness. But something that I really would like to have Saga bring back is more like fresh, like vegetables, and more vegetables that are like fresh and just cooked, because at home I eat a lot of really fresh foods and I really miss it.
We have time for probably just one more question. Can you explain your biggest strength in your candidacy for the EVP of Student Wellness?
I believe that my biggest strength in being a candidate for the EVP of Student Wellness is the fact that I love community and I love talking to people and I love engaging with other people. So I already currently feel like I have a very, very solid base within the community of Wheaton and all different classes and grades. And I feel like that would be a very beneficial thing in having and being the EVP of Student Wellness, is the fact that I have lots of friends and lots of people that I know involved in lots of different areas around campus that would be able to come and help me and support me in my role, as well as give me a lot of feedback.
Thank you, Ella. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for Q&A for your section here. For all of the candidates for this cohort of the Q&A night, we're actually going to be forced to cut down to just 4 minutes rather than 5 minutes. So just a heads up. We're now moving on to the Q&A for our EVP of Academic Affairs candidates. We're going to do this in the order of first Ray, then Katie and Ray, and so on and so forth. Okay. Our first question for Ray Jin. What do you see as the most pressing issue for academic affairs?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I definitely believe that accessibility is a pretty big issue that we really need to get over, because there's a lot of times that people just don't know how to apply for these grants, for these programs and resources. And during my time as the administrative manager, I've had people email me saying, "Oh, what do I do to apply for this grant?" or "What am I supposed to do with this conference?" So during my time, I would forward those emails to the current EVP of Academic Affairs, since that is their expertise. But at the same time, I definitely want to work with the EVP of Technology, so we can have a website where it can list all the steps on how to apply for these grants and resources. And at the same time, I want to make them more accessible to minority students. It seems that they're underrepresented sometimes, and I want to change that. Thank you.
Katie, what do you see as the most pressing issue for academic affairs?
Right. So I 100% agree with Ray on this. Accessibility is a big issue. Another thing that I'll say that I've found to be important is mental health accommodations, or just accommodations in general. In my personal experience and the experiences of a lot of my friends that I've talked to about this, the process for getting accommodations is so convoluted and tedious. Me personally, I applied in the beginning of last semester, and it took 5 or 6 weeks to even get an email back, only to hear that I needed excessive paperwork. And the same goes for all of the people that I've talked to about this. So I think definitely accommodations is one of the most important things, so that students' academic success isn't hindered by things that the college could help them with.
Katie, what excites you most about possibly being a part of student government?
Okay, so I know for a lot of people, high school seems like, years ago, but for me, it was just last year. So getting a taste of leadership in high school, I was the student representative to the administration for the whole music department at my high school, which was about 400 people. And being able to advocate for those students on their behalf to the administration to make their interests known was really exciting for me, and something I'm still really passionate about now. And I miss being able to do that this year. So I think that's the thing that I would be most looking forward to, being involved in student government, being able to make the students' voices heard to the administration.
Ray, what most excites you about possibly being a part of student government?
Yes, so this year I was on the SG board, and I just want to say I had a pretty good time on it, and I'm definitely looking forward to more experiences for this year. At the same time, I'm definitely going to be excited for next year if I get elected. It would be because it'll be a change of pace, because as the administrative manager, I was appointed on the board, and I was pretty much used at people's discretion. But if I'm an EVP, I'll be able to have more legislative authority, and I'll be able to vote on things and have my voice heard more. And in this case, I'm able to represent the student body even better. So people can give me ideas and initiatives, and I can draft legislation and send it to the board, and we can vote on everything. So, yeah.
Ray, please give an example of an experience that encouraged you to run for EVP of Academic Affairs.
Yes, so it was actually the start of my freshman year, where I ran for class co-president in an election that I lost. Then I ran for co-class president again, and I lost. But then I was eventually appointed as the administrative manager. So that gave me a taste of what student government is like. And since I've learned so much, and since I had a role on the SG board, it encouraged me to run for EVP of Academic Affairs because I feel like I have some unfinished business on SG. And my experience at Wheaton has been great with the whole student government thing. Even with the losses in the elections, they taught me how to be more persevering, and basically it was just very good resilience training for me.
Katie, please give an example of an experience that encouraged you to run for EVP of Academic Affairs.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, my experience with trying to receive accommodations in the beginning of the year, that was kind of a negative experience that showed me how much students really needed to be heard by the administration, to have their concerns voiced, to be able to get the issues resolved that they need resolved. But like I said, that's kind of negative. So it was actually, it was my dad who convinced me to run. That's why I decided. I like to make decisions very logically, gathering all the possible information before I make a move. And after reading about the position and talking to the current EVP, gathering all that information, my head was still spinning and my emotions were all over the place. So I called my dad and he walked me through the process of making a pros and cons list. And at the end, the pros outweighed the cons. So that's why I chose to run.
Katie, what is your greatest strength as a candidate for the EVP of Academic Affairs?
Yeah. So also, like I mentioned before, I am super passionate about advocating for people. It's one of my favorite things to do in life, as as cliche as that sounds. But being able to make people whose voices are often silenced, people who aren't in positions of power, being able to make their voices heard, being able to help implement the changes that they want to see made, that would be my greatest strength.
Ray, what would be your greatest strength as a candidate for the EVP of Academic Affairs?
So let's see. My greatest strength will definitely be like my resilience and accountability. Throughout Wheaton, as you guys know, I'm in ROTC, and there's strong emphasis on accountability, just making sure you're showing up to everything like 10 minutes early, making sure you're waking up at like 5 a.m. for physical training, things like that. And there will be times where you will fail, like you will fail some task, and it's literally inevitable. But pretty much I see it as a test where it tests your resilience. And in my opinion, I think I've done a pretty good job. I've ran in past 2 elections before, lost, but I still became the administrative manager. And so far, my ROTC career is doing pretty well. And yes, and that's pretty much all I have to say.
And we'll close with one final short question here. Ray, what is one thing you admire about Katie?
So what I admire about Katie is that she's a very straightforward person, and that's the type of people that I like to work with, actually. She was actually the one that sent me a message through Instagram saying, hey, you want to grab dinner? And honestly, at first I was very surprised by that text, but I agreed to it, and we actually had a great conversation. We talked about our personal lives, the campaign, and we had a great time. I truly admire her for that. And honestly, like with me, win or lose the election, I'm willing to be friends with you. And it's coming from the bottom of my heart. I truly mean it.
Thank you, Ray. Katie, what is one thing you admire about Ray?
Thank you for those kind words. Yeah, so like Ray said, I reached out to him last week to grab a meal because I genuinely did want to be friends, like not just for diplomacy or to look good or whatever, but genuinely. And I think I'd have to say the same thing right back. I noticed from the get-go, like styles of communication are pretty much exactly the same. Like, say what you mean what you say, and be very direct about it. And I like talking with those kind of people, interacting with those kind of people. And like I said in my intro speech, I'm so grateful for the friends that I've made along the way, win or lose. I'm so grateful to have Ray as a friend now, and I don't really think the student body can go wrong on this one.
Thank you both for your wonderful comments. That concludes our time for our contested EVP races. Elle, if you're here, you're welcome to turn your camera on for a final goodbye and thank you to our live audience members. Thank you to all of you tuning in. We're gonna move in just a minute now to the uncontested remaining 5 positions of EVPs. For those of you just now tuning in, please submit your questions to our live Slido via the code 644-152. 644-152. Recordings of these speeches and Q&A will be posted as soon as we're able to finish rendering and putting together the videos. Candidates, would you like to say a final goodbye?
Thank you, Daniel, and all the people who made this evening possible. I'm sure it was crazy for all of you. And for everybody watching, thank you so much for watching.
Yes, to everybody watching, thank you for being here. I know it's Friday and it's late at night, but you guys made an effort to be here. Daniel, Mr. Election Commissioner, thank you for your time and for your hard work for doing this for us. And thank you, Brett Bauman, for setting up the whole logistics behind this. And thank you to all the other candidates. I wish all of you luck, and you'll do great. Thank you.
I echo what both Ray and Katie both just said. Just thank you to everyone who's watching and to Daniel and the election committee, and good luck to all the other candidates.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. We're now going to invite the remaining EVP candidates. All right. Welcome, EVP candidates. There are 5 of you running for 5 discrete races, and I know it's strange that we've lumped you all together in one call, but we're gonna make this work, and I'll make sure to try to have seamless transitions between each of you. So we're gonna first do speeches, and each of you will be given 2 minutes for your respective speeches. And then we're gonna do a Q&A where we just kind of rotate through all 5 of you. And if you are tuning in now, please submit your questions via the Q&A section of the Slido with the code 644-152. I'm Daniel Ju, the election commissioner and current student body vice president, and I'm so grateful for those of you tuning in this very late Friday night. Our order of our speakers is going to be, here we are. We're going to go with the EVP of Community Diversity candidate, Brianna Barba, followed by the EVP of Global Engagement candidate, Joseph Park, followed by the EVP of Student Life and Engagement candidate, Noah Rendon, followed by the EVP of Technology and Campus Services candidate, Mia Posey, and finally, the EVP of Campus Sustainability candidate, Elise Bounds. Each of them will be given 2 minutes for their speeches, followed by a 20-minute Q&A session. We may run just a few minutes over 10 p.m. I ask for your grace for those of you tuning in. If you've made it this far, you can give us 5 more minutes. Thank you, and we love you. We're going to open up with our candidate for the EVP of Community Diversity, Brianna Barba, and I'm going to first read the job description for, well, not the full job description, just a 1-sentence description of what this role is. The Executive Vice President of Community Diversity represents underrepresented communities in the student body and serves as the primary facilitator on student government with regards to college policy related to diversity, assisting the president and the government in representing student concerns and overseeing policies and issues related to diversity within the government. Brianna, take it away. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Well, hi, my name is Brianna Barba. I am a junior psychology major, as well as a Spanish minor, and I'm from Los Angeles, California. I'm so excited to be running for EVP of Community Diversity. I'm so passionate about the different forms of diversity that are present at Wheaton College, as well as the many areas in which we are lacking. I think it's really important for us to recognize that as of right now, Wheaton College isn't a safe space for many marginalized students, and there are many areas in which the institution can improve to better care for these students. I believe that the best way to do this is to use open and honest communication. Um, I want to have conversations with marginalized students from many different backgrounds and with very different perspectives, so that way I can best serve the entire Wheaton College community. I believe that this must then lead to advocacy. With that, I wish to speak on behalf of students that entrust me with their perspectives, with their experiences, and do everything in my power to ensure that they are cared for and protected. In all of this, I believe that there must be solidarity and true solidarity, which to me means lamenting alongside our marginalized peers and carrying one another's burdens in a way that we really have been called to as Christians. It means true unity, and to me, that type of unity costs you something. It's a type of unity that pushes you to action. It's a type of unity that stirs something inside of you and sometimes makes you feel things very deeply, makes you want to cry, makes you want to hurt with others. And it makes you want to make change. And my hope is that through the implementation of open and honest communication, strong advocacy, and true solidarity, I and my community and my committee would be able to push Wheaton towards being a more equitable and truly multicultural safe space for all students. Thank you.
Thank you, Brianna. Our next candidate is for the EVP of Global Engagement, Joseph Park. The EVP, the Executive Vice President of Global Engagement, exists to both represent international students' voices to the board and to provide and support global initiatives on campus for domestic students and international students alike who are interested in learning more about the world around us. Joseph, you have 2 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Park, and I am a rising senior majoring in business economics. I'm currently serving as an Army ROTC cadet and the president of Ohana, a student-led club dedicated to praying for North Korea and supporting North Korean refugees. As an international student, I myself have experienced the potential challenges international students might face when adjusting into a new culture in college. I believe that with my passion for improvement and my experience as a student leader on campus, we will be able to make change that further cultivates a culture that seeks global experiences. Like almost everyone else running for a student government position, I also chose 3 words to describe what kind of principles I would like to follow. Some people chose action, accountability, academic. Others chose action, service, and unity. I chose the words action, service, and integrity because, you got to make at least one word different to differentiate yourself. First, I chose the word action because I promised to put in the work needed to get things done. I recognize that in order to achieve goals, there is no secret formula or shortcut. It is all pure hard work. I will do the work necessary to support our student body. Second, I chose the word service because I want to focus on serving our whole student body, not myself. I realize that it's easy to work for one's own glory and to seek to achieve things that make yourself look good. As someone who is imperfect, I am also prone to this temptation. However, I will continue to fight against this inclination and work to provide practical resources for our student body. Lastly, I chose the word integrity because I recognize that integrity is crucial and slips starting from the little things. I will seek to work with integrity even with the little things. To conclude, I am not perfect, I will make mistakes, and sometimes I will fail. However, I will always keep trying and continue to get back up and work at it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Our next candidate is for the EVP of Student Life and Engagement, Noah Rendon. The Executive Vice President of Student Life and Engagement chairs the Student Life and Engagement Committee, which oversees long-term policy initiatives which facilitate the college experience outside the classroom, including issues in regards to residence life, athletics, campus experience, and student engagement. Noah, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. For those who don't know me, I'm Noah Rendon. I'm currently a sophomore here at Wheaton. I'm studying economics, and I'm running for EVP because I really love this campus. I really love this community. I really wanted to see it improve. Like many of you, when I arrived on campus, I had no friends and no family to support me and very little connections. But through like Wheaton's community and its strive for intentional community, I was able to get plugged in and develop firm roots within this Christian community. I believe that we have something really unique here, a full body of Christians willing to support and help one another. And I really want to see that grow and to develop. I want to pay it forward and pay back the amazing treatment Wheaton has provided for me. If I end up filling this position, I want to make reconnection and flexibility my top priorities. I know right now the future is uncertain when it comes to COVID. That's why I want to retain that flexibility so we can adjust our schedules and our plans in accordance to COVID guidelines, but also still maintain that connection to student body. But I also want to emphasize that many of us have lost that connection due to COVID and just that separation, isolation, especially on on-campus events. And I want to provide a way for people to just who felt isolated over the past year to rejoin in this community and to reestablish and to remake what makes Wheaton great. And I want to establish open lines of communication between me and my committee and the school. I want to provide an environment that encourages Christian fellowship and focuses on inner floor, and inner dorm connection. It is time to open up doors that were previously closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Noah. Our next candidate is for the position of the EVP of Technology and Campus Services, Mia Posey. The Executive Vice President of Technology and Campus Services exists to effectively represent the student body to the administration on issues of technology, finances, and campus services. The EVP of Technology and Campus Services listens to student concerns, identifies areas for improvement, and works to bring about positive change to the college's technological, financial, and service ecosystems. Oh, Mia, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name's Mia Posey, and I'm currently a freshman studying business and economics. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I'm running for the EVP of Technology and Campus Services. This position is vital as the role of technology is now greater than ever before in our education due to the pandemic. As we transition to larger amounts of on-campus services being available to students next year, preparing both students and faculty for a smooth transition will be vital. My goal will be to promote thriving for all students, specifically in the areas of technological, financial, and campus services. This includes helping students have access to the technology that is needed to further the students' academic, spiritual, and vocational aspirations. I will do this by listening to the concerns of the student body and representing my fellow students to the Wheaton administration, seeking to find new and creative solutions to problems faced by Wheaton students. I will strive to provide an affordable education as the price of higher education continues to rise and the pandemic has influenced the financial states of many families. I look forward to meeting quarterly with the Finance Board of Trustees. I seek to actively represent the student body by working to create a committee with diverse backgrounds, experiences, and majors to represent the entire community. For all students to thrive, it's important that every student is represented. Finally, I aim to steward the resources that God has provided to Wheaton College. The committee and I will work to allocate resources effectively to carry out the mission statement of Wheaton College, for Christ and His kingdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. Our fifth and final candidate tonight is for the position of EVP of Campus Sustainability, Elise Bounds. The Executive Vice President for Campus Sustainability exists to effectively represent the student body to the administration on issues of campus sustainability, environmental affairs, creation care, campus maintenance, and stewardship. The EVP of Campus Sustainability voices student concerns and identifies areas of improvement to create and innovate new ways to develop campus stewardship. The EVP of Campus Sustainability also works to educate and transform the campus toward a more sustainable future. Elise, you have 2 minutes.
Great, thank you. So my name is Elise Bounds. I'm currently a freshman studying international relations and economics, and I am from Houston, Texas. My hometown is really where I got my rather unorthodox, I guess, appreciation of sustainability. Unorthodox in the way that wasn't about waste or the environment, but just this simple definition that if we don't care for our present correctly, that it'll affect our future negatively. So with the floods and hurricanes that my city has seen in the past year, I can see the hazards that happen when that's not taken seriously. And so that's just one of the reasons why I'm really passionate about this position, because I get to care not only for my fellow students right now who I attend school with, but students to come, which is just really special to have that responsibility. And some of the ways that I do hope to care for both people now and in the future is by making the programs that this group creates more accessible. I would just love to see students more knowledgeable in general and really invested in the programs that we put out, that they want to put their time and their energy into the things that we create. And one of the things that the current EVP, Emma Riddle, has done is talked about surveys to find out what students really want. And I'd love to continue that and see what people do want to put their time and energy into. Another thing I'd like to do is highlight specifically the gardens that this department works with, the Garden and Prairie Project, and also our community garden, because they do such wonderful work. And I love to see students who feel called to have an avenue to get invested. And the last thing that I'd love to do is have more informational programs on sustainability with the lens of intersectionality, because you really can't talk about environmental justice without looking also at race, socioeconomic status, and even gender. So I'd love to work with the OMD and the EVP of community diversity on that, especially. It would be amazing.
Thank you, Elise. The final 20 minutes of today's event are going to be for the Q&A for all 5 of you. We're just going to cycle through questions one by one here. All 5 of you will answer the same question, tailored slightly to your role. And we'll make sure that all 5 of you will be able to answer all of the questions equally. We are going to put a hard cap on an absolute maximum of 1 minute per response. I will cut you off. You don't need to feel like you should have to spend the full minute, but I will have to cut you at 1 minute. Our first question, and we'll go now in reverse order, starting with Elise, is what do you see as the most pressing issue for campus sustainability at Wheaton?
I would say this also reflects what some of the earlier candidates talked about, but as accessibility, because when I was speaking to the current EVP, Emma, about all of the wonderful programs that the EVP of Campus Sustainability got to help and promote and highlight, I realized I had never heard of any of these things. And it was such a shame, because she talked about all the great work that she's been doing throughout the year. And I think really promoting and highlighting these wonderful things, the programs that all student government is doing, should be made more accessible to students, either through social media platforms or our service. Just finding out how to truly connect and let that resonate with students would be a wonderful thing to have, just because there's such good work being done. And I think the biggest fault is that it's not known by other people. So that would be my biggest ambition.
Thank you, Elise. Mia, what do you see as the most pressing issue for technology and campus services here at Wheaton?
Yes, I think because of the impact of COVID-19 causing a lot of economic uncertainties within many of the families, many students are concerned about the costs of attending Wheaton and seeking to find ways to make the Wheaton education more affordable to all students will be really valuable, and I will advocate for the Wheaton students to the Wheaton administration. And I'll champion for Wheaton to steward their resources well for the benefit of all students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. Noah, what do you see as the most pressing issue for student life and engagement at Wheaton?
Yeah, thank you. From what I've seen, I feel like that the campus is really lacking that unity at this current moment in time, and I believe from all the events of the past year and a half, I believe they've really lost that connection, that community, especially with on Wheaton's campus, and I feel like over the next year, me and my community should really strive to build that back up and to build that unity, because we are all one in body of Christ.
Thank you, Noah. Brianna, what do you see as the most pressing issue for community diversity at Wheaton College?
I would say, as of right now, it is to call Wheaton to stand out as an anti-racist institution and to really declare that directly and clearly to students, and truly act upon that. I think that's a very general answer, and there's a lot of ways that that can be enacted out. But just as a general issue that I think we really need to strive for, that's how I view it.
Thank you, Brianna. We have a bonus question here for Brianna from the audience. Brianna, what are some ideas you have in mind, if any, to help to continue to help support and represent the AAPI community on campus?
I think that's just going to look like a lot of good communication and me really reaching out to Koinonia, as well as AACC, to hear what their specific concerns are, because I recognize that as a Latina woman, I don't have that experience. And so I really need to make sure that I am hearing directly from the source what their experience is like, what are the struggles that they're dealing with, what are the ways that the campus is not caring for them well enough, and where can I step in and how can I help without stepping on people's toes. So I think for me, it's just going to be a lot of listening and really clear listening without trying to interject what I think.
Thank you, Brianna. Joseph, forgive me for skipping you in the order here. I'm so sorry. Joseph, what do you see as the most pressing issue for global engagement here at Wheaton?
You're totally fine, Daniel. I think one pressing issue right now is a lack of emphasis on a global experience. I believe that living somewhere else that you're not used to, like, enables you to be more understanding of others, of people who might be different than you, who might be raised different than you. And sometimes, like, I look at the attacks on Asians these days, and I ask myself, if these people truly understood and saw these Asians as human and, like, as a father or mother or a sister or brother, would they do those, like, acts? So I think I want to emphasize that global experience is precious to our community. So yeah.
Thank you, Joseph. For our next question, we're going to reverse the order yet again. So we're going to start with, well, now that we switched this, we're going to start with Joseph and then go to Brianna and back down the list. Joseph, can you share an example of an experience that encouraged you to run for the EVP of Global Engagement?
So as an international student, I never got my driver's license in South Korea because the age didn't fit. And once I came to the US, I realized that I need a driver's license to, like, get around and use a car. But I found that, like, my resources were kind of limited for me to, like, learn how to drive. So it was kind of like experiences, like specific international student experiences like that kind of urged me to go for EVP of Global Engagement.
Thank you, Joseph. Brianna, can you share an example of an experience that encouraged you to run for the EVP of Community Diversity?
I would say my entire experience just serving as chair of Solidarity Cabinet has really showed me the importance of policy change in trying to push for change on campus. I think doing the solidarity work was so great and so wonderful, and I loved working with students and being a part of that student-facing organization. But as we were teaching people and learning things and learning some of the intricacies of just the marginalization of students on campus, I recognized how big of a part policy was, and I just really wanted to be a part of pushing for that change.
Thank you, Brianna. Noah, can you share an experience that encouraged you to run for the EVP of Student Life and Engagement?
Yeah. So my freshman year, I had never gone to Wheaton Passage or had done any of those intro level Wheaton classes. When I came to Wheaton, I felt really alone. I felt pretty much left behind by a lot of the campus. That's why I'm kind of running today. So I can see that improving and pick up those people who have been left behind by a lot of the colleges, those freshmen who don't always, get plugged in from the get-go, and help really connect with them. And I can definitely relate to them because I was in their shoes. I was in that place. I felt like I was a little bit left behind by a lot of Wheaton's community. This grows to expand to accept all people.
Thank you, Noah. Mia, can you share an experience that encouraged you to run for the EVP of Technology and Campus Services?
Yes, so this year, after hearing about many of the budget cuts that Wheaton College had to implement this spring and some of the programs that were unable to continue, I have a friend who is directly impacted by one of these programs being cut because of the budget cuts. And I was encouraged to run for this position because I knew I'd be able to hear from and then also represent the student body to the administration about what things we value and how the resources of Wheaton College should be allocated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. Elise, can you share an experience that encouraged you to run for the EVP of Campus Sustainability?
I had a couple of smaller experiences culminate in one aha moment this past year. I remember distinctly at the beginning of the year seeing the new COVID procedures in Saga. Me and my friends thinking, okay, we can save our grocery bags. We'll use them as trash bags. We can get a reusable one. Additionally, I remember walking past the gardens outside of my side, and we asked each other, do you know who runs those? Anyone have any idea? It was just a little conversation that was quite comical, but I'd never got an answer. I just kind of dismissed them as silly questions and forgot about them. And then upon seeing this position and all of the things that student government cares for and it enables, I realized someone does care, and that these things are here for a reason, and my questions aren't silly, and they're things that should be addressed and can be addressed. And that was just a really special moment, that to see that student government can make change, and that the little things don't have to go unnoticed, and that there is real power in the students who are working so hard and diligently in student government.
Thank you, Elise. We have one more substantive question, and we're gonna yet again reverse the order here. So we're gonna start with you, Elise. Elise, how do you plan on involving the student body in campus sustainability?
Like I said earlier, I would love to do more specified surveys that Emma Riddle was talking about, just to see what students want to have on campus, what programs they'd like to see. And I would also really enjoy a bigger social media presence of specifically campus sustainability, both in like the things that kids don't normally see about our waste output as a campus as whole, and then also personal responsibility and giving resources. And this is where you can buy bamboo silverware or something. Just having a voice and like a clear connection between students would be wonderful. So yeah, I think those would be my top two: the surveys, getting feedback specifically, and then communication broadly to the whole student body as quick as possible.
Thank you, Elise. Mia, how do you plan to involve the student body with regard to technology and campus services?
Yeah, so the entire body has already been so involved and receptive to all the new technological changes over the past year. And I'm super excited to promote new technology services that students can use, and also be very involved with the new student government website to provide clarity for students. I'm also excited to involve the entire student body as we transition back to many on-campus services. And I know that many students are excited for that transition as well.
Thank you, Mia. Noah, can you share how you plan to involve the student body with respect to student life and engagement?
Of course. I believe that we should cooperate with the most fundamental part of res life, which is the CLCs, and I think that they're one of the biggest links between us and a lot of people on dorm life and big part of campus. And I believe that we really should, incorporate, connection and cooperation routine, CU and res life to provide a more open communication to what the people in the dorms want and what the people on campus really need.
Thank you, Noah. Joseph, can you share how you plan to involve the student body with respect to global engagement?
I actually have been I've attempted to involve the student body in global engagement through my Instagram account. I've put out polls saying what's the one reason that keeps you from going on a study abroad program, and it turns out that it's lack of time and schedule. I've also asked, would you rather study abroad to Spain or Japan? It turns out people would rather study abroad to Spain. So through these polls, I've been trying to engage with the student body and get interest towards these study abroad programs.
Thank you, Joseph. And finally, Brianna, how do you plan to involve the student body with respect to community diversity?
I think there's many different ways that this can happen. I think one of the ways is utilizing social media, which is such a great outlet, especially right now with COVID. Everybody's online. And so I think just continuing what Alyssa has been doing such a great job of this semester and this entire year with utilizing her Instagram profile and using that platform to reach students, hear what they have to say, and also let them share their voices on that and let people be heard through that platform. But also connecting with OMD groups and making sure that I'm connecting with that leadership. So that way I know that they are being heard and that they are being fully a part of the initiatives that I am pushing forward.
Thank you, Brianna. We have time left for a mini question, so let's do that. I kind of want to do something fun just to close off the evening. I'm so grateful for all of you who stayed with us this late into the evening. Really, you know what? Say a word of encouragement to the people who are watching us to leave us off on a positive note. How's that? Brianna, you want to kick us off?
That sounds great. Well, thank you so much for watching and making it all the way until 10. Wow. And I look forward to hopefully serving as your EVP of Community Diversity.
Joseph?
Yeah, thank you everyone for watching. And some people might be going through hard times or some people might be going through good times, but just always remember God is in control and he loves you.
Noah?
Yeah, I would just like to thank everyone for watching, and I would just like to say, spring is almost here. Warm weather is kicking up, and I just like to believe that as much as dire as the past couple of months have been, just keep hope in Christ because he's in control of all things.
Thank you, Noah. Mia?
Thank you so much for choosing to invest in the student government and taking this decision seriously. And I'm just so excited to see what God's going to do. And it's been so awesome to see how he's been faithful throughout the year.
Thank you, Mia. Elise?
It just means so much to me. I'm sure it means so much to all of us that you would take your time tonight, like Rajan said earlier, on a Friday night to be with us. And even though I can't see you, can't really interact, I just thank you. We're so connected. Thank you for, like Mia said, investing in student government. And I hope that this isn't the only time that you reach out and are a part of these programs because we're here for you. That's the whole reason. And so just thank you for being who you are and for taking the initiative to log on and that kind of thing. It means the world and you're doing a great thing.
Awesome. Thank you thank you to everybody. Thank you to those watching. Thank you to the election committee. Thank you to all the candidates who've stayed with us so long. You all are awesome. Brett's giving you a thumbs up, so you know he's legit. Please remember to rest next week. Quiet week, rest. All right. Starting at the very end of Sunday, the start of Monday, all the way through to the end of the following Sunday. There's going to be no campaigning, no running around asking people to vote. Take it easy, worship God, rest, be at peace. That goes for you, those of you listening as well. Jesus loves you. Thank you, everyone, and make sure to vote the following Wednesday after Quiet Week, Wednesday, April 7th. God bless all of you.
Thanks, Daniel, and the election committee. You made this really smooth, even though it probably shouldn't have been. So thank you for such a wonderful job.
All right. Bye-bye. Good night, everyone.